Hey everyone, welcome to Chain Out, your favorite 780 podcast, all about disc golf. I'm Jeremy, and with me as always is your co-host Daryl.
Hi everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. Hi Jeremy.
Hey Daryl.
So that's a new intro. 780 podcast?
780, of course. You know what 780 is, right?
Well, 780, the area code for Edmonton.
Yeah, that's when Alberta split. I think Alberta was 403 for the longest time. And then once we got two area codes, 403 stayed in the south.
Right.
780 came up to the north. But really, I want you to flash back to your DJ days. So,
okay.
If you, of course, in your DJ days, you probably sampled a little bit of Pitbull here and there.
Sure, yeah.
Sure. Well, I don't know if you remember, but when Pitbull came out, he used to announce, like Jason Derulo will be like, Jason Derulo on his songs, and DJ Khaled, another one, and all of that.
yeah.
Pitbull's used to be Mr. 305. That's how he would roll out his songs.
Right.
And I think, like Pitbull, we're still just kind of in those starting days. 305 was the Miami area code. But soon enough, Pitbull started to change things, if you remember. And he went from Mr. 305 to Mr. Worldwide.
There you go. I like that. That's you being your optimist again.
Yes, that's right.
Mr. 780 to, or Duo 780. That's got a ring to it. The Duo 780.
The Duo from 780, rolling your disc golf tunes. Interviews and course reviews.
Wow, I think have you had too much time on your hands, Jeremy?
Well, we've had a few days off here and there in the Christmas break, so.
Yeah. Speaking of the Christmas break, hopefully everybody got to watch a couple of episodes or get caught up. We had some good episodes released over the Christmas and New Year period. We
did.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody had enjoyed our last podcast with a great interview with Kristen. I know it was a real fun time in interviewing her. I had a good time listening to, talking to her and hearing her insight into a few things.
Well, and, we broke the bank with that episode. I think we pushed 2 hours, and we easily could have done another hour with Kristen. And so we'll have to have her back on, right?
Oh, yeah. I think she's definitely going to be a return guest. But you know what will happen? We got caught out last time we interviewed her, and we're not going to get caught out again.
No, we are not.
Cheers, Kristen. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, Kristen. That was the thing, is she surprised us with her Advent beer, and I think I might have had a glass of water beside me.
Yeah, I know. I was starting to go the opposite way. I was starting to be a bit self-conscious, thinking that every time I'm on the podcast, I've always got some sort of drink on me, but it's just, a nice evening relaxer. That's all that is. And then the week that I bring water on is the day that we get called out for not having a drink. So we're never going to let that happen again. And it's all Kristen's fault.
Yes. Thanks, Kristen.
Yeah. Thank you. Give us any excuse.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with that, too, was that we know that she was watching the episode, which was nice, because she was like, in episode 1, you had a wine. In episode 2, you had
a cocktail and a beer. And yeah, no, it's good. It's she could. She's one of the OG listeners for sure.
Yeah,
there's a couple of OGs, but yeah, she's in there from the ground floor.
Yeah, that's right. Like, and looking back, so look at all these people who can say, "Hey, I was one of the first 20 subscribers on YouTube to Chain Out."
Exactly. Yeah. No, I was going to bring that up a little bit later, but I mean, you mentioned it, so we may as well we'll talk about a little bit about it now. But yeah, we've reached the big 2-0, which is big for us, right?
Oh yeah,
20 subscribers on YouTube, and just starting the new year. This time next year, who knows how many we're going to have.
That's right. Well, and the other thing with that is 20 subscribers, which I put it in perspective, was we're getting a number of views. So people are going out and checking the episodes out. But these are people who have actually subscribed so that they're getting notified when our new episodes come out. So that's pretty, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. It's like the Grinch and the heart growing a little bigger type thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's good to hear, good to see. Keeps us growing, keeps us thinking that we're doing the right thing.
For sure. Well, the other thing Christmas-wise there, Daryl, was, we could talk about Christmas gifts, that kind of thing, but I really want to bring up, and it's a bit of a plug for your DJ channel there, but you surprised me here just during the Christmas time. And you had said, "Oh, well, you know, Jeremy, you got me a time lapse. I need to make sure to take care of you." And then
I'm sure I didn't say it like that.
Maybe not quite like that, but the reason I'm saying it like that is because I got you this one nice little disc, and then all of a sudden you surprised me at the course, and we open up 2 5-disc mystery boxes from Gander, and that was quite a gift. I was really excited about that.
It's not about the quantity, quality, or whatever. It's a gift for a gift, and I just thought that would be a perfect... I mean, maybe there was a little bit of selfishness there. I thought maybe if we do a mystery box, we can also record some content and you know, and enjoy another round of golf, which is what I always enjoy anyway. So, yeah, we did that. We recorded it for the... when you say DJ channel or my DJ, you should clarify that it's DJ Disc Golf. I did used to DJ back in the day, but this isn't a mixing tutorial or anything like that. It's a DJ Disc Golf channel.
Well, you know, when you say that, maybe on your DJ Disc Golf channel, you should mix some tunes as the background and just have that going at the same time. It'd be a DJ Disc Golf type thing.
And have the discs on the turntables and everything. Just incorporate everything, right?
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, the one thing people... So I'll tell all our listeners, make sure to watch for that and check that out when Daryl gets that posted, because what we did was we took those 5 discs that we each got and we played around only with those discs, nothing else, never thrown before. And we did make it into a little competition because we always have trouble just playing for fun. We always have a fun time, but there's always a bit of a competition. And you'll have to stay tuned and see how it ended up.
Yeah, we had a fun time. Speaking of Christmas... What did you get for, did you get some nice new presents for Christmas?
Well, you know, I got some of the standard fare stuff that I was wanting at this age, right? A lot of times you kind of get the things you need throughout the year. But one of the things I did ask for, which was this nice looking hoodie.
That is,
So it's my EDGA hoodie. So now I can represent the EDGA and the 780 when I'm out on the course.
Yeah, that's nice. Like the nice blue with the rainbow logo there. I know I've got some on order as well. I've got a hoodie and a t-shirt. Didn't quite come in time for Christmas or this episode, which is a very fitting way to kind of lead us in through the podcast. But as soon as I get mine, I got a notification to go pick them up. So as soon as I get that notification, I'll be wearing it on. As soon as it comes in, I'll be wearing it on the next episode. But yeah. Well, a brilliant segue, Jeremy. The fact that you said that you've got this new EDGA gear,
right,
coming up on this episode, we're just going to keep the ball rolling with big guest interviews. Tonight, we're going to be interviewing the one El Presidente himself.
Yes,
President of EDGA, Mr. Tim Plamondon. Yeah. So, would you like me to bring him in?
Oh, definitely. I can't wait to talk to Tim. I was excited last week. I'm even more excited, or just as excited this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
Mr. El Presidente himself.
Hello. Hope you guys can hear me okay. I got the AirPods going today.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How are you folks doing?
Likewise. Yeah, we're doing good. We just had a bit of a conversation about some nice things that we had for Christmas.
Including
Jeremy.
Hey, that looks sharp as ever.
There you go.
Sporting my nice blue EDGA gear.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got my purple polo.
Yeah. Mine's on order. I just haven't been able to pick it up yet. So once I get it, I'll be wearing it. Don't you worry.
It all looks so good. Like just seeing all the pictures kind of pop up around the community and seeing a couple of the pieces around, it looks so good. I'm so happy we did it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and before anything, I just want to start with something. I need to make a drink really quickly, so
yes,
I'm gonna quickly make something. If we're talking about stuff we did over Christmas or got, I'm gonna go ahead and take this little lemon. Gonna go ahead and salt the rim a little bit here. Let's go ahead.
I've already seen a preview of this. If you follow Tim on his Instagram.
Yeah, get my ice cubes going. A little Tabasco, not too much, just a little bit. I like to have a pretty muddy one there. That's probably good.
Oh, you
I'm
didn't
not
say the
much of
name
a
of that ingredient. Could you maybe
yeah
tell me what that was?
Worcestershire sauce. I'm
I'm
not a
from
big
England,
drinker.
so I'll correct you in a minute. That's okay.
I'm not a big drinker, so I'm only gonna do like that. That's enough for me.
There
Okay.
you go.
Pickle juice. We're just gonna put the pickle juice right in there.
Ooh, pickle juice. That's a nice ad.
Right yeah.
Yeah.
And then go with the clam, and then we're gonna get a little slice of pickle and the garlic dill bean thing. There we go. And look,
That's quite the cocktail, Tim. Tim,
Cheers.
we weren't gonna miss out this episode.
Oh, very good. Okay, now we can talk.
Now we're officially started.
We're officially started. Yeah, that's right.
Tim, we're very famous for sidebars, is I think what we're starting to have here. And you making yourself a nice clamato there or a nice Caesar, reminds me of my first trip as a young 20-year-old down to Louisville, Kentucky, and in a fancy restaurant at a conference. And everybody's ordering their beers and their drinks and their cocktails and all of that. And I ordered myself a Caesar, and they looked at me funny and they said, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, clamato and vodka and all of this." And they're like, "Well, what's clamato?" I'm like, "Well, it's, like clam tomato juice type thing. Like a Bloody Mary." I'm like, "Kind of, but not the same." I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Just bring me a Bloody Mary. I'm fine." They said, no, because it was a fancy restaurant, right? Like they had a mixologist. They're going to take care of me. Take care of me, they did. They brought back a Bloody Mary that had clam juice in it. I had like 2 or 3 sips, and that was all I could handle. So, pro tip, when you go to the States, don't order a Caesar.
That's a nice attempt by them, though. That's a very nice attempt.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, they must have thought these Canadians, right? What are they doing? Putting clam juice in their drinks?
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for effort.
Yeah, they're probably like, yeah, that makes sense for them for sure. They would do that.
So how have you been? I've seen you just posted today that you got out for some disc golf. Quite a few rounds of disc golf.
I mean, you can't ask for better weather on a December 28th. Like 7 or 8 degrees or sunny and everything. I had a random day off from work. Been working a lot lately. And Kristen had a day off, so I had 197 rounds logged onto UDisc this year, and I usually do get to that 200 amount. And I was kind of looking at my calendar and kind of thinking, like, I don't know if I'm going to get there this year. Like, I was a couple weeks out, I don't know. But then today, we did a round at Rundle, had a great time. I was the winner of that round, and we went to Hermitage. Kristen took care of that round pretty handily. She was the winner of that round. And I went, okay, well, I'm at 199 rounds. And Kristen said, well, let's go to Langholm. So we went to Langholm. Yeah.
Good choice. Came out to my home course there. And how did that one go?
Well, we were tied. We decided only to do 9. We were tied after 9, so we went to a playoff. And hole 1, we both parred. Hole 2, she almost hit the ace. Very close to hit the ace to walk off win, but left her with a big putt. I made the putt. She didn't. I took home.
Good work. Well, that hole 2 ace would be a good one to have because you can barely see the basket over the hill there. Yep. And then you've kind of got, maybe for you guys are a little more pro than Daryl and I, but that feels like a narrow gap sometimes, those trees out there.
She threw a warship at it, and in the first, on the original 9, she almost aced it. I still can't believe it didn't go in. And then on the second one, she's like, she said, if I get the ace in the playoff hole here, it's still going to count as a legit real ace. And then nearly rang it up. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah,
and then,
she mentioned as Kristen mentioned in her last episode there, that she just got that warship. So yeah, it seems to be working out pretty good for her.
Yeah, she's got her Matty O dialed in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she throws that thing so beautifully. So it was an unbelievable day for disc golf. I got to my 200th round. It was so fun. Great day.
And now you're finishing it off on the podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Tim, one of the things is this is the first time you're on the podcast. The podcast is relatively new. We're in episode 8. But we're pretty excited about that. And what we wanted to do before we get into any president talk or anything like that is just give you to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got into disc golf. Now, I think I threw our last guest for a bit of a loop. All I was trying to do was rather than say, tell us how you got into disc golf, and just throw a straight up question. I said, give you some time to think. It was like, tell us your origin story. So here's my one for this week. So let's say you were a villain, a super villain, and you were touring around a disc golf factory, and you were up on the rafters, and all of a sudden you fell into a vat of disc golf plastic, and you came out with this exuberance for only disc golf. I'm sure that's not your origin story, but why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into disc golf?
Yeah, it's almost how it happened. No. So what happened was, I have a friend of mine who, in 2016, we were, I don't know, it was summer, beautiful. Neither of us had anything going on. So I had seen, maybe through a targeted ad or something on Facebook, I'm sure, or something, that there was soccer golf. And I thought, okay, cool. Soccer golf sounds kind of fun. It's funny, like, I really suck at kicking. Like, for some reason, that is a sport gap that I have. I'm really bad at kicking. But I was, whatever, let's go try it. So it was at Rundle Park. So we drove up to the golf, like the ball golf clubhouse, and went in, and we talked to the person there, and we said, like, yeah, we'd like to play this soccer golf. And it was like Thursday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon or something. And the girl says, oh, I'm sorry, that's only every first Friday of the month at 7:00 or something like that. Like, it's just very specific time.
On odd numbered days, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, okay, well, that's fine. And then she just casually mentioned, but there's a Frisbee golf course at the end of the park. And I'd never heard of it, or if I had heard of it, I didn't think of it. But I happened to have two Frisbees, like one Ultra Star type Frisbee and an Aerobie ring in my car with me at that time.
Right.
So, yeah, I looked at Jason and I was like, well, I mean, we came here to soccer golf. Why don't we just go up the hill and try this out? And I remember getting up to the parking lot up there, and I didn't know to look for like the website to see like the layout or anything like that. So we walked up to what is the original hole 4. We saw like hole 4, and we saw a basket, and like, okay, cool. So we're throwing our Frisbee around, and then we kind of looped around and did another basket in a different hole, and we were kind of like, okay, yeah, this kind of makes sense. And probably like an hour later, we didn't do the 18. We kind of just like kind of safari golfed it by accident, but we were kind of like, there's something here. There's something here that's really cool. Yeah. And so we both worked at Sport Check at the time, and Sport Check happened to sell 3-pack starter sets of Vibram discs. So we both bought Vibram. Yeah, we both bought Vibram 3-pack sets, and went back to Rundle like the day after or the day after that or something like that. And we went and found the layout online and started playing. And we had no idea what we were doing, absolutely no clue what we were doing, but we were just kind of having a lot of fun with it. And then we had met a couple kind of casuals, or I shouldn't say casuals because they're kind of regulars, but we had met some people on the course. I believe it was Tim Sherman and James Morton were the two first people I kind of met in the community that were out there playing. And they kind of said, well, there's a club, and like, this is how you do it. And it was like really welcoming. And Jason and I, my buddy Jason, we played 3 to 4 rounds a day, every day off we had for that whole summer. We played and I started buying discs from like a retailer in Florida, and I just kind of went crazy with it. And Jason went really, like, we both just kind of took off with it and just started playing like all the time, like nonstop. And it was just like, it hit me so hard. It was just like, this is the sport I've been wanting to play that I had no idea I've been wanting to play.
Right. And all because of a mishap with going to play soccer golf.
Yeah, I still never played soccer golf.
Yeah. Isn't that funny, hey? How you're that little fork in your road in your life. If it was open that day, then who knows? Maybe you never would have picked up a Frisbee.
Exactly. If I didn't have Frisbees in my car for some reason, maybe I wouldn't have gone down the road. Like, there's so many little things that happen in that moment. Place. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and it was shortly after, like very shortly after I started playing, that I actually met Kristen. And I remember the first couple times I took her out, I was like, you gotta try this. This is unbelievable. Like, this is the best thing in the world. And she's like, I'm sure she was like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I with this guy? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. How are you not seeing how awesome this is?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I was late 2016. It was like August 2016, and I have posts on my Facebook that memories that come up. That's like going frolfing today, like just like that kind of thing. Like really excited about finding this, and then I joined the club as a member in 2017. Like the next year, I was like, oh, there's a league. I can do this competitively. Like I'm a very competitive person, so I was just like blown away that not only was this sport like so accessible and welcoming, and like at the time in 2016 2017 there was no one on that course except for a few select people. Like no one really, the course wasn't packed, so you could do 4 rounds in a day. You could kind of get out there on a Saturday and just like have the course to yourself. And so I joined. I played so much, and then I joined the club and played the Thursday Rundle League, and it got me so fast. I can't even begin to describe how quickly I was just like, well, this is who I am now.
Well, and so much so it's who you are that recently body part of yours was kind of featured on the internet there when they were doing kind of a post about people with disc golf tattoos. Did you get that like day 2, or how long did you wait before you did that?
I don't remember what year I got this. I think 21, something like that, 2021. It took a little bit of courage to go do it, but I felt really strongly about it. It was just kind of like, I know this is home, so I have no problem putting it on, like tattooing that onto my body, because this is just who I am. And it was weird that day, because I was like, I've submitted that picture before to PDGA and whatever, because they kind of did a call for tattoos, but like just opening Instagram and seeing my leg first picture, just being like, whoa, that was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about your Facebook and everything to do with the internet there, I want to kind of touch on your own Instagram, and then kind of go on a bit of a tangent here. But it seems like when you look back through your Instagram, it's a highlight reel of aces. Like you've had, so I mean, throwing back to what you said earlier, all we've got to do, Jeremy, to be able to get to this good is just play 4 or 5 rounds a day for the whole summer, and then then our aces will be coming left, right, and center. But
10,000 hours.
You've had. I want to specifically just point out your 2 recently. I kind of misquoted to Jeremy, because I thought at Hermitage, I thought you had aced hole 6, but actually looking back on your Instagram, it was the same day, 5 and 7, either side of 6.
Yeah. That is correct. Yeah,
2 in one day in the same course. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was right after River City Cup, and I was feeling exhausted. I was feeling just like burned out. Like we were in the middle of trying to put Hermitage in. This tournament, it was the first B tier that I've ever put on. The club was kind of in full swing. Like so many things were happening, and I hadn't been able to play a lot. Like I was really kind of down about it. Like kind of feeling like, man, I'm coordinating so much stuff right now, and I can't even get out and play. Like Kristen, I gotta get out there and play. And we played a beautiful round, hit the first ace in the first one, and it was kind of like, okay, that was, feels good. Got that off the back. It felt really good. And then we got to the end of the round, and I was like, you might be done for the day, Chris, but I'm not. Like, would you mind? I want to go around. She was like, yeah, go ahead. I'll join you, but I'm not going to play. And then hit the second one. So it felt, I just felt like the universe was just saying like, here you go. Like, good job.
Yeah. Here's your reward.
Yeah.
And it was with the same disc as well, the April Fool's Nate Sexton Firebird.
Yeah. So I love, people who know me know I love to throw Sexton Firebirds. I've thrown, 26 aces or something like that. I think 20 of them or 21 are with Firebirds. They're just
wow.
I have my 2020 Firebird. I had 7 aces with it. I actually sent it to Nate Sexton and I asked him to sign it. I sent it to him. I was like, I messaged him on Instagram being like, listen, I've aced 7 times with this disc. I'm retiring it. If I send it to you and pay for it all, would you sign it and send it back? And he was super nice about it and sent it back, and I retired that disc completely.
That's awesome.
That is so cool. Yeah. Do you have it like up on a wall in a case or something now, or?
I should put it in a case. It's on a wall downstairs. Yeah, kind of hanging. I've got a couple commemorative discs. I've got I'll get to. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a moment about the memorial. But I've got like a disc from the memorial that's signed by a bunch of people. I've got a disc from like the International Disc Golf Center. I've got my Nate Sexton Firebird with the pilot aces. Like I've got all my Ice Bowl discs, all my PDGA discs. I got my first ace disc. I've just got like a wall of like commemorative, hangers.
Nice.
Well, speaking of aces there too, while you're at it, I've been lucky enough to have a couple this year, my first two. But my question to you is, with 26 aces, is the 26th one as good as the third one, or are you like, oh, now it's just old hat, or how do you feel about them?
Nah, I still love them. I still get excited about them. It's funny. The last one I had, I think it was hole 10 at Rundle, and I was with Travis Bouchard, and we were playing around, and we were kind of in like this deep conversation, like really deep conversation, and like it was kind of like a serious tone, and like I threw it, I hit, it skipped, went in, and I kind of like, yeah. So anyway, Trav,
I'm just going to run this down, and then we're going to get right back into it, okay?
Exactly. Exactly. No, I love it. And like, even today, like seeing Kristen almost hit those aces at Langholm, and like, I love it. I love that aces are a part of our game. I love hitting them. I love trying to hit them. I love that they're so a part of disc golf.
So I don't have as much experience playing other courses and experience in disc golf, but now you brought it up about saying which one is, is just 26 just as good as the third. Which is more rare and which holds more gravitas in some way, an ace or an eagle? I know an ace is an eagle on a par 3, but like are aces more common than eagles on a par 4?
Yeah, absolutely. I think well, on a par 4 I'm not necessarily certain.
Or I guess an eagle on a par 5 as well, but
yeah,
eagles in general.
I mean, I only have like, I think 2 eagles to my name. Like, they're just because they're like usually in that like 400 plus distance type hole. Like they're tough. Eagles are tough to get, where I find is a lot of the aces, even the ones I've had, they're in that sub 300 kind of range where you can get them. Like they are attainable, especially like shorter holes. But like, I find that eagles are actually significantly more difficult to get. Like, I've only got a couple. They're very hard to get.
Well, and in my thoughts too is that an eagle technically is you're throwing an ace run throw to get that eagle. You're just doing it in the middle of the fairway as opposed to off a tee box, because you're probably at a similar distance or longer in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and I feel like other than that situation, like I think about like one of the eagles I have is hole 9 at Jubilee in
one of the eagles he has.
There's just so many. It takes a minute to. I think it's hole 9 at Jubilee in Spruce Grove, where it's a 400-foot hole. So it's like, if you've got a big arm, you can reach that, and it's a par 4. So that to me is like, it's more like, is that a fair par 4?
Yeah.
Like, should it be a hard par 3, or is it a really easy par 4? Like, I remember I put it, probably 20 feet away and made the putt. So it was just like a darn good drive, and it didn't really feel like an eagle.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that is a good point about that too, is because as you progress into your more development in your playing, and you get to that 300, 400 are regular drives and throws for you, I'm sure that does change the way those courses look. For Daryl and I, we went from the 150 Heiser Club to now we're kind of in that 200 to 220 feet where it's actually going where it should, with a good 275 pull once in a while. So for us, that would be a huge eagle, definitely.
And I think that's like a really awesome part of our game, is like there's the ability to like go out as a beginner or as an intermediate and play a par 4 and get a par or a birdie, and it feels good. Or if you're advanced, you're playing the same hole and you can get the birdie or the eagle. Like there's kind of like, it isn't like, doesn't drop off for anyone significantly. Like, people can have success right away with disc golf because kind of the lengths of the holes are not astronomical unless you're on the Pro Tour.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if it's like hole 12 west at Falcons or Aspen Meadows, because hole 12 there is ridiculous.
Is it? Well, the one thing we're hoping to find that out this year, because we're very excited that the tournament is going to be on the Masters Tour, and our hope and dreams is to one day play in an MP50 Masters division, maybe at Worlds or something like that. Once we get to that age, so we want to start with something like the tournament coming up this year. So,
right.
But sorry, I was going to say there, Tim, was you kind of alluded to it, and we were told when we talked to Kristen last time that she told us an amazing memorial story about meeting Kristen and meeting Owen and parking cars beside each other. And she was like chomping at the bit to tell us a memorial story that you had, but she saved it. So yeah, if you want to go for it, we want to hear all about it. We've been waiting all week to hear about it.
It's a really good story. So we fly there. We get in. We're very fortunate that Kristen's grandparents have a condo there, so we kind of get to the condo. We kind of sort ourselves out, give the hey and highs to everyone, and then we're kind of like, well, let's go throw a practice round. Let's go we have enough time to get to each course and just throw a few holes to at least familiarize ourselves before we play the tournament. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking we were gonna like stay and do family stuff. They're like, yeah, that's cool. Let's go do that. Like maybe we'll meet some people. That'll be really cool. And so like we drive out to Fountain Hills, and like we kind of get into the parking lot, get our bags on, and everything's just so exciting. It's like 25 degrees, which first of all was just like the best thing in the first week of March to feel. And it's just like a gorgeous day. It's blue. It's sunny. There's just like a buzz in the air. There's just like this vibe. Discraft selling some discs there, and there's everything. And we walk up to hole one, and there's big germ Jeremy Colin standing right there. And we're like, oh, come on! Like this is worth the price of admission already. We just
Yeah.
And so we kind of had like a 2-second banter with him, and that was cool. So great. So he's playing this practice round. We're behind him, kind of doing our thing, and then we catch up to him, and he's on one of the little peninsulas, and he's kind of scooping for his disc, and he's not having any luck finding it. So I'm in shorts. I'm like a fan, so I'm like, dude, do you want me to like go in and get it? And he's like, that water is disgusting, and I'm like, whatever, it's not a big deal. Yeah, I can shower. It's not a big deal. So I get in, and I'm like, I find someone else's disc, and then I find his mortar. So I'm like, give him his mortar, and he kind of makes a little joke about, oh no, that's not it, and he goes to throw it back, but no, oh, that's my mortar. And it's like so he's just so grateful. It's like he's like, do you want like a autograph or something? I'm like, just take a picture. It's nice to meet you. Like, let's have a picture. Take a picture with them. Like, I'm 6 foot tall, and the guy towers over me. He's huge. So that's really cool. Like, just that in itself was great. But then he's like, so you guys are playing a practice round? He's like, well, why don't you guys play a couple holes with me? We're like,
wow,
come on. Yeah, we're like, come on.
That's awesome.
He's like, we'll play a few together. So we play a couple, and there's a couple holes that are like bomber style holes that like, he's like, oh yeah, it's just like a 450-foot hyzer, like it's pretty easy. That kind of thing. But he recently to that, he had just lost his bag. His bag was stolen, so all of his discs in his bag was brand new. And I remember seeing his stories about this online, and he was really beat up about it. And to us, he was kind of telling us like, it was really hard to lose those discs, not because necessarily I can't replace like the plastic, but like so and so gave me this disc, and that disc had this sentimentality to me, and I really miss having this disc that was given to me. And like all of those like meaningful discs that he had in his bag were gone, and you could tell just like in the 20 minutes we spent with him on 3 holes or so that he was really beat up about that. And I know that because I know that like discs have sentimentality to them. I knew that before, and I remember him saying that and thinking like, yeah, that would be hard. But like, I think only recently have I really begun to feel that about my discs. Like, my bag has really become set, and I've been thinking about that experience lately with him and how meaningful my discs have become to me. I really now look back on that memory and remember him and just like how much he thought of his discs, and like how they were just so much bigger than the shots he was throwing.
How that whole experience just comes full circle. Hey, now you can kind of put yourself where he was and understand it and be more akin to him, right? Yeah, that's a good story.
So I mean, that was our not just meeting Big Germ, but getting to play a few holes with him was amazing. It was so cool.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite disc golfers.
He's such a good guy. I'm going to give you guys a bonus memorial story as well.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. We roll up to, that was at Fountain, so we roll up to Vista del Camino, the other course for our practice round, and Paul Macbeth's there, and get introduced to him, shake his hand, awesome, great guy, super nice, got him to sign a disc. Cool. Flash forward to the end of the tournament, we're all at Vista del Camino watching the MPOs finish, and Paul Macbeth wins it. Oh, spoiler alert from 2022. Paul Macbeth wins it. We're all kind of just hanging out on the 18th green. There's like some interviews happening, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden a line forms to have Paul Macbeth sign people's discs. And we were kind of like, what the heck? I've got this foil disc. Let's get him to sign this. So we're in the line, blah, blah, blah. And Kristen says to him, like, hey, well, congratulations, eh? And Paul Macbeth goes, you must be Canadian. And we're like, oh, what? Yeah, how'd you know that? And he's just like, eh? So Kristen got called out pretty hard by Paul Macbeth for being Canadian and dropping an A.
That's awesome. So the guy's got a good sense of humor, that is what you're telling us.
And sharp, like he picked up on it and executed the joke really quickly.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, no, that's awesome. Like Daryl was saying, Big Germ for both of us is one of those guys who, you know, I know he's on the tail end of his career.
How can you not like him, right?
He's so likable.
Yeah. Well, and then and so you probably got to see, so doing that and playing a few of those holes with him, that sidearm is something to behold, I'm guessing?
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't think he threw any sidearms when we played with him, because we played like 5, 6, 7 or something like that, or something like, they were all big backhand hyzers, but they were just like, they were the biggest shots I've ever seen. They were just like, you know, the disc is just like a pin in the sky. They're so high and far away.
Yeah. And exactly where you wanted it to go.
Yeah, exactly. You're just executing flawlessly, like no problem.
Yeah. Hey, Tim. Hey, Kristen. Let me show you the line here.
Yeah. I actually have a funny story regarding, well, not really regarding Big Germ, but there was one day where I was out at Niska, and I think it was hole 16. I went up to the tee pad, and I seen a red disc in front of me, and I thought, oh, see if there's a number on it. So turned it over, and the disc was, I think it was I forget which disc it was. I have a picture of it, but it had 3 signatures on it: Big Germ, Paul Ulibarri, Nate Sexton. And it was just laying on the ground and all that. So I texted the guy and I'm like, hey, did you lose your disc at Niska? Which one is it? I'm like, it's a red one. Yeah, can you wait there? I'm like, well, I'm leaving now, but you know, I'll hide it somewhere if you want. Which one is it? So I took a photo and the guy just lost it. Oh, I can't lose that one. That's like, yeah. But, yeah.
You can't be losing a big sexy berry disc.
No
exactly.
way.
Yeah. He got it back.
The golden trio. Good. It's the golden trio, that disc. That's fantastic.
That's awesome. That's the nickname, I guess. That's the stuff that you can educate
Big
us as
Berry.
these newer disc golfers. Big Sexy Berry, I like it.
Well, that's just from Joe Miz.
name.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be watching that. Big Sexy Berry, Big Berry, depending on who's on commentary at the time. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Yeah,
awesome. Well, Tim, what we wanted to do as well is you kind of given us a good idea of how you got into it and how you went into it like head first, playing tons of rounds, buying discs like nobody's business. How did you then become the president of the Edmonton Disc Golf Association?
That's such a good question. I think something I'm really good at is just like relationship building. Like I really like being around people. I like being personable. I like people. So I think I got to know kind of that crew from like the 2017 when I first joined to 2020, like, you know, the Wallies, the Tims, the Brendan Millets, the Joeys, like I got to know a bunch of those guys just by playing with them often enough. And the club was pretty small back then. So you were playing with those guys pretty often. You got to know each other pretty quickly. And disc golf is like just inherently inclusive, and they included me very quickly as soon as I joined. And, you know, I think they were just welcoming and accepted me very quickly. And so I guess where this is going is that in 2020, Wally, I believe, was outgoing president. He had kind of sent me a few messages kind of leading up to the AGM being like, hey man, like we're hoping to kind of, I'm leaving the council, hoping to revamp with some new people. Like, would you be interested in maybe like the vice president role? And I was kind of like, whoa, that's a big role to kind of take on without any board experience. But I mean, if Wally, I mean, I have so much respect for what he's done in our community. I was just kind of like, how could I say no to him? He's just a giant in our community. He's done so much for us. I can't say no. So I said, yeah, vice president. I mean, absolutely, I'll do it for sure. And then a week later, which was a week before the AGM, he was like, so things have changed, and actually, you should consider running for president.
What?
And I was kind of like, I mean, if you think I can, like, if you think I can do it, like, sure. I'm not gonna say no, but that's at the time that felt like, what am I getting myself into? Like, that is such a
Yeah.
huge ask. And even thinking about that right now is just kind of like, oh my God, why did I do that?
Yeah.
like, but they were, you know, everyone on that board and Wally, they kind of reassured me. They're like, you know, it's as much work as you want it to be, and it is tough, but it's really rewarding. And again, it was 2020, and like the real boom hadn't happened yet. It was kind of still like we were still kind of in weird lockdown. It was the winter, like it really hadn't sunk in yet. So it was kind of like, okay, like I know the club, I know like Wally's got like this course that he's building. I'm surrounded by people who know what to do. Like I feel like I'll be okay.
Mm.
And just there was no one else that went for the position, so I got the position, and I was just kind of like, I remember sitting at this very table being like, okay, I guess I'm the president of the Edmonton Disc Golf Association, and just being like, how did this happen? Like, how did we get here? But again, I just can't speak highly enough of the people like Wally and like Tim Sherman and like Fubi and like Joey and all those people who were very patient with me as I brought on some new ideas, and then tried to figure out what my role was and what my vision was. They were just so awesome and accommodating, and it wasn't always easy. We did have a lot of like just turmoil to start with, because I think there's just like this, you know, there were so many people in my first year that were joining the club. You know, we went from a 70-person club to a 211-person club in a year.
Wow.
And it, like, you know, I just struggled to figure that out really quickly. We did in a way, but we had some amazing council members, like having Travis Bouchard and having Vicky. Just like I can't even begin to describe what having people that invested, that smart means to this club. Like this club owes so much to so many people for being able to make that transition and not drop the ball too hard when that many people came on board and started playing our sport. I just, you know, I feel like I've done a good job. I feel like
Yes.
I've done a good job, and I've done my best. But I am nothing without the board members that I've been so fortunate to have around me, and the community kind of rally around my ideas and some of my things. Like I'm by far from perfect, but I think like people are just so grateful and willing to step up, and have just been just so incredibly supportive. I'm so surrounded by just amazing people, and that's been just the biggest joy of it all.
I think you're
awesome.
probably not giving yourself enough credit. I think to say that you surrounded yourself with amazing people is one thing, but to be able to convince those people that what you're saying is the right thing to do and have them say, "Yeah, we're with you, Tim. Sounds like a good idea, and we're gonna go with it and roll with whatever you say." I think that's definitely more on you than it is than you're giving yourself credit for. So,
Well,
I
I'm gonna keep deferring
deflect
any
that.
sort of
As
I'm
every good leader
Yeah.
should and does. Good job.
Yeah.
well, I have such, because you know what, I really believe so many of the best ideas that this board has come up with are I feel like I've positioned us to make good ideas, and now good ideas are like coming to us. And so I feel like, yep, I've had my hand in being able to empower people to come up with great ideas and latch onto them. But I'm no mastermind. I feel like my strength is just organizing people and having a bit of vision. Whereas, you know, again, not even just the council members, like all the community members who have stepped up with like donations or work at the courses or ideas. Like I get emails almost daily or messages almost daily from people saying like, hey, I just thought of this, or hey, have you thought about this? Like just people who are just pouring themselves into this club to try and help in any way they can. And I just like, again, that's just like, that is disc golf. Disc golf is just like, people just jump into it, and they're just like, how can I make this better? How can I, you guys had Mark Thompson on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and he's a prime example of that. He is just like that guy who's like, he's going to go to Wildman and help them develop the course. He's going to be at Hermitage driving trucks. He's going to, go up for a board position on the council. He's going to be playing in the leagues. Like, he's just, he's a classic example of the personality type that this sport attracts.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we're very happy to call him both a friend and a friend of the show too. And yeah, he's a great guy, and we see that. I can tell you too, Tim, is like, I've been part of the club now for 2 years since I got into disc golf. And the one thing I noticed is all of my interactions, all of the things that you guys have offered have always been first class and really great and well organized. Even things that are brand new, where probably behind the scenes you're scrambling to try to put it together and you don't know what it's going to look like. On the face that the club sees and each of us individuals, it's always a top level product. And I'm really excited about that, because when you think about it, from what you're saying of having 70 members to 211 to this year, I think we went over 400 members, if I'm right. Over 400 members. And, getting Hermitage to be a premier disc golf course in Edmonton with, 2 basket locations, 2 tee pads, like, just a great place to play, helping Alberta Hospital get off the ground, running River City Cup, doing putting league, doing all of these clinics. It's just, you guys have so much on your plate. And then the last thing to say about that was when Daryl and I got to sit on the AGM meeting in the call, I've sat on a few, nothing crazy, but I've sat on a few little board meetings here and there. And that was one of the best organized, most inclusive, like you said, in the old days, you'd be struggling to find somebody to volunteer, and there was more volunteers than you could even award positions to. It was the best thing I'd seen. So just kudos to you and the team that you have around you for all the things you're doing.
Yeah, and thank you. I mean, that's the goal, right? The goal is that we create an environment that people want to be a part of, and that people like, oh, I have something to offer this, I'm going to put my name in the hat. And you're right. Like, I hated having not enough positions for the people stepping up, but that is a sign of health within the club. And I just hope that those people circle around and can take over and be a part of it. And that truly was probably one of the most rewarding things since taking on this position. Like, there's been a lot of smashing my head against the wall about some things, and there's been a lot of heartaches, but there's been so many successes, and that was definitely one of the top successes, was just seeing the names come in for board positions. And I appreciate the kudos for the AGM. I usually start building that spreadsheet about this time for next year.
Wow.
That's awesome. I want to touch on something that you mentioned about the numbers of members that we have and things like that. And we've spoken to Kristen last week about it as well. And she mentioned that, it went from a certain number, and then we had the COVID boom, that it exploded. Now those numbers are kind of dipped down a little bit. Obviously, people are taking it up, finding the other things to do and things like that. And that kind of led me and Jeremy to kind of have a bit of a discussion about what sort of what sort of things are you doing to keep that ball rolling and encouraging new people to take on the sport again? And then that kind of goes also hand in hand with the idea that we had, is there any program that you're doing in regards to schools and getting like junior golfers and young people to get into the sport?
These are excellent questions.
There's a few rolled into one there. I apologize.
Yeah, no. These are both excellent questions. I'll do my best to get to each of them succinctly. Regarding the boom, so we went from 70 members to 211 to 250 to 400. So I think locally we're actually still seeing a boom. I think globally there has been a plateau, but I think locally, because of Niskapaskwauk, because of Wildman, because of Bailey's Crossing, because of the Hermitage, I think locally we're actually still going to see a little bit of growth. What happens beyond this next year, I'm not certain, but I think we're still in a growth phase, just based on, I played 3 rounds today and all 3 courses were packed. It was a beautiful day, but it's winter golf and the courses were packed. I've never seen that before in my life.
That's so awesome.
I think from an EDGA perspective, it's really important that we capitalize on it. Like, I'm sure that half the people that played the courses today probably don't even know that the courses were fully funded by the club. They probably understand it to be like a city initiative, which is not the case.
Right.
The city has a lot of control over it, but it's the club that has to generate the funds and ultimately install the courses. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we have had or have learned that we have is communicating the importance of becoming a club member, because those dollars to start with are important, but also just having people in the club to voice their opinions and to offer volunteer time is important. So I suspect, and I have no hard evidence to back this up, but I suspect that the club probably represents around 10 to 20% of the actual amount of disc golfers in our city.
Wow. So there is I guess that is maybe an advertisement or a call out to anyone listening today and all of us, is that when you're out on the course and you're seeing people, maybe that's something in the conversation we can drop in. Hey, are you an EDGA member? And then give them a little information. Because to me, how many other clubs, like I've played in ESSC and I've played in leagues in volleyball and that kind of thing, and you'll get 8 weeks and everybody on the team pays like $120 per person for that 8-week session. And then when you're part of EDGA, you pay $20 for a year. And I was part of Nor'Western League as the rec league, and I paid $40 to play from April to the end of September. Like, there isn't better value in any other sport that you can play, in my mind. Yeah. So that's one of those things I think people need to know about being a member of EDGA. And I'm expecting, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is when you have 400 members like we do now, and you go to the city to talk about another opportunity that maybe you're looking to do, it's just that much more support in your corner to show that this isn't just 12 people asking for a disc golf course. This is a large group of people.
You touched on so many exactly perfect points. I think a big mandate of EDGA is to keep disc golf affordable, like keep the prices affordable. We don't need to be making tons and tons of money. We're a non-for-profit. We just need to make sure we have money to support our courses, keep programming going, and build it kind of organically. So affordability, like you said, like that membership fee, we brought it down from $30 to $10 or $30 to $20 because we were like, well, it's literally, they don't have a $30 bill. They have a $20 bill. Let's make it easy for people to give me a $20 bill. And same with the leagues. Like we'll keep those affordable so that it attracts people and gives them amazing value, because affordability is a big part of the sport. And then the second part of that is absolutely the look to the city. It's funny because I struggle with the city sometimes, but the reality is that the people that we actually interface with at the city are actually, they love our club. They love dealing with our board. They are fantastic to work with. They're just kind of tied by their own bureaucracy. So we actually have amazing people in our corner, but there's so much value in being able to say, like, yeah, we have a 70-member club. Oh, actually, it's a 200-member club. Actually, it's a 400-member club. Maybe next year it's 600. And it's not like people that make these decisions are typically out on the courses on a Saturday afternoon seeing the backlog of people. They don't see that. I can give them UDisc data. I can give them membership data. And I can give them anecdotal data, but I guess that's kind of an oxymoron, but I can give them anecdotal thoughts about it. But that's really, like, having people and having growth in the membership is actually a very important strategy and an important part of the growth of the sport in our municipality. And I'll piggy that back onto the second part of Daryl's question, which is about the schools. Yeah. We have not done enough to go into the schools. We've started to kind of do some coaching sessions. I don't think we advertise that very much. Like, I think last year we probably did about 10 learn to throw programs at schools, which are really fun. They're obviously very educational about our sport. They obviously touch on everything you would imagine. But I think that probably is one area of growth where we have not done our part yet, where we've been very focused on course development, very focused on like getting an updated logo, very focused on like building a website, very focused on programming, but we haven't really dug as deeply as we should into that side of it. That being said, we have a new director of growth who I think we'll take what we've done now, which has been good, really good, and hopefully just take it to the next level. And I think getting into schools is a big part of that.
There's only so much you can do in a year, Tim.
If only
I know you
was
want
a
to do
lot
more.
Longer.
Yeah.
Well, and with that too, and we touched on it as well, and we got a little bit of the information out there, but I think it would be a good time to do it as well. Is not only are you focusing on the juniors and the kids and getting in the schools, which is a great one. Like I know with the Nor'Wester League this summer, Nick Legault had arranged and grabbed 3 or 4 of the guys 3 or 4 of the players and took them over to Kingswood for a Cub Scout group that was out there and did a little impromptu learn to play. So there are those opportunities there for the club members in that to put the sport out. But I know as well, we talked about that there's a push as well to get more women into the sport. And maybe you can tell us just a little bit more about what that programming that we've got, those clinics that are coming up.
Yeah, so we were lucky to get a grant. The checkboard is like about 3 feet behind me. We were lucky to get a grant from Women in Motion that basically was a couple $1,000, $1,000 now, $1,000 later, specifically to fund the women's growth in the game. And they don't just focus on disc golf; they focus on many sports. But we obviously applied for the grant and received it. And so that's actually going to pay for training sessions indoors at Foot Field for women for a selected period of time. I think it's 4 weeks. I could be wrong, but it's free for women to join that. It's all paid for, and it's definitely it's funny. Just like again, anecdotally, like something when Chris and I started playing, we didn't see a lot of women out there, but as we kind of built this women's league and talked to women and started seeing them more, the common theme we heard was like, oh, I always go with my partner, or I don't really want to play in front of other people, so I go out at weird times.
Yeah.
So and hearing that second comment was kind of like jarring, and it was very eye-opening. And so I think creating the women's league, and not just creating it and like leaving it, but like trying to actively like do things to make it more inclusive, do things to make it more accessible, do it the right way that serves the women best. It was really important to myself. It was really important to Vicky, and those programs are just so important. And Kristen runs a women's only tournament every spring called She's Up First, and it grows every year. The response is just amazing, and you can just see like the pride in the players. Like it's just stepping back and watching that is. I love it so much, and seeing the women's league scores come in every week and talking to them, getting their feedback, and trying to improve it every year it's really important. It's really important that we open up that channel and make it something that people feel compelled to tell their friends about, and give it to them and make it theirs, and not make it what we think it should be, but make it what they want it to be.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great.
I think too with the junior program, it's kind of the similar thing. It's really about making an opportunity for it and trying to just learn from it year over year. How can we improve it? How can we make it better? How can we position it for the players? Like everything we do has to be for the members in whatever capacity. So
that's awesome.
That's fantastic, Tim. Now, I wanted to ask a question that we have here, and this is going to lead into maybe a little bit more to what Daryl really wants to ask you about. But let's start with EDGA and the region that we have, of course, Edmonton Disc Golf Association. But what is kind of the borderlands of what Edmonton kind of considers its region that we're looking after? Like, are we all the way out to Stony Plain? Like, where would you kind of give us a north, south, east, west border on that?
Oh, that is a complex, answer. So
these questions are only going to get tougher, Tim.
Yeah, we didn't mean to. We thought we were just asking a nice little question.
I'm here for it. The way I see it is that we are primarily set to advise and fund and XYZ anything within the city's borders.
Okay.
So I think we do a lot of work outside of our borders because I think what is it, like a rising tide floats all boats. Like I really believe that. Like I believe if we are active with your Baileys and your Wildman and your Ledukes and even the Hills is actually not under EDGA's purview because it's owned by the developers. But
Right.
we've advised on their basket issues, and we've advised them because I feel like the more that we can kind of bring all the people and all the courses and everyone together kind of under one umbrella, then it's a position of strength for the whole community going forward. Not just EDGA. Like EDGA is just one entity, but I feel really strongly that we represent the disc golfer of our local area. But in terms of our actual purview, it's really just the borders of the city, and even the Hills is not under our purview.
Wow.
So, well, that's interesting because, like you said, it's going to lead on to one of my questions that's dear to my heart. You mentioned it in the AGM, or you touched on it there about the, probably weekly, monthly, or whatever. You get asked about when are we going to get more disc golf courses on the south side. Yeah. Now, you mentioned that Leduc or that the Hills wasn't even in your jurisdiction, kind of, but that. I always want to ask like 2 or 3 questions in a row, so I have to apologize. But south side in general, like obviously, and it is just because of the way that the city is made up that we have a lot more parks and recreational area on the north side of Edmonton, which is fair. Yeah. But yeah, the south side is lacking in a good quality 18-hole. Locally situated. I know we have Baileys out at Devon, but somewhere on the south side of Edmonton. And then I guess you've kind of already answered my second part of that question was, do you know what's happening with Beaumont Disc Golf Course? Because when I started, I looked on UDisc and I, spoiler, I live in Beaumont and I didn't even know that there was a disc golf course in Beaumont. So that's how out of the loop I was when I first got into it. Then I looked into it and found that there was one there, and it's been under construction, and I think it's been under construction all of this year. Doesn't look like there's any signs of it getting rectified or anything like that. So, yeah, south side. So what are we doing, Tim?
To clear Beaumont, we're completely. You probably know more about Beaumont than I do. So we've never been advised, or we've never been asked about it. We've never. Nothing Beaumont has ever come across my invisible desk.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I'll have to take it up with somebody in the city then.
Hey, and if they want to talk to me about anything like advisement or anything, I'm here. Yeah. Fully here. In regards to the south side, that is it's the big question of Edmonton disc golf. Like it's the number one thing I do get asked for, and it's the most reasonable ask. Why do we have Niska, Rundle, Hermitage, and soon Science Park all in the northeast and nothing in the south? So it's because I can't be short-winded about anything, I'll go long-winded. The path to getting a course built through the city is tremendously difficult. Even Hermitage has been in the works for like 8 years before we even got to put a shovel in the ground.
And that's from having to hear that. Sorry.
Yeah, it takes a long time. It takes forever because there's just like you have to do public engagements, you have to fill out like a complete municipal improvement agreement, and then you have to have each stakeholder sign off on it. And that third thing, it's an interesting choice of finger for the third thing. The stakeholder part is really difficult because there's a lot of people who don't know the sport or don't know the land or don't know the usage that are coming in to advise their thoughts on something that they've got no experience in context of the sport there. So what happened with Hermitage is we went through 15 to 20 different layouts before the one that exists was approved. And even the one that's approved has things that have to change. We might not get to it, but it just takes so much time. There's distances between trees or distances from trees. There's what machinery you can have in the parks. There's just an infinite amount of people who want to put their hands on your project. So even just from filling out the municipal improvement agreement to getting the stakeholders to sign off on everything is just, it's so many years. It takes years and years and years to do it. So the work that was started at Hermitage started years ago. I feel like Wally did such a fantastic job to like set us up. We had all this money and we put it into Hermitage. We stayed the course of that project because of how far down the line it was. It's like we're this far. We have to finish this project. Just having a second 18-hole course in Edmonton will take so much pressure off of Rundle.
Yes,
right. And I felt really like ownership of that, being like someone who's used Rundle, 10,000, 100 million times. Like I felt like we have to take pressure off Rundle. So now that we're free of that, it is a matter of finding some land on the south side. Now the city, the people at the city that I've talked to, so Sherry's and Natalie's and those folks, they know that that's our next thing. They know that that's where we're going, and they know that they know our intent already. I've had conversations with them as far back as early 21 about it, and the only thing I've ever been told is like, well, there's no land that's up for grabs. There's nothing that's like, yep, this is like a piece that you could conceivably apply for, which has been kind of a non-starter for the city. Like they want to be able to give us land, because the way the agreements work, I should back that up even further. The way the agreements work is that Edmonton basically gives us the land as long as we do everything. So we fund it. Right. It's a super fair deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
The scale's this, right?
Yeah. They permit us to use the land on it's like 5-year contracts kind of thing. And then we have to fund it. We have to maintain it. We have to insure it as well, which I think people don't know that we do. We have to insure everything. So there's a lot of ins and outs about everything. It just takes time, the process, to do it. But regardless of that process, we've asked our membership base, and we've kind of looked internally at trying to find land on the south side that fits. We did have a club member build kind of like a temporary 9 in a community league, and it was a good layout. It was a good first attempt. I think he had some support of some people, but ultimately, I think if that exists by itself, great. But that's not what we want. We want like an 18 that would be solid. We were approached by someone last year who found a space, but we found that it had 3 separate stakeholders, including like a pipeline company, and then like an electric company, and then the city. So trying to navigate that is just,
there's a lot of red tape, I bet, in that one.
Exactly. And so at this current record date, the goal is to finish the signage at Hermitage, which is just like literally the signage and some remediation, and then put our efforts into finding some land on the south side. Land is what we need. Land is what we need. Yeah. If you can get us land, we can do the rest. We have a great history with the city. We know what the process is. We know how to do it. And I'm sure by the time that the stakeholders sign off on it, we'll have the capital to do it. But it's really about finding that all-elusive piece, which is the where are we putting this course? Like we need to figure that out.
Have you ever heard any? This is a bit of a sidebar, and I don't want to go too much down this road of specifics. But have you ever had a conversation, or has anybody brought up? I forget, but it's the rail yard area. By Calgary Trail, just north of where the police training area is there. Right. I drove past it the other day because I seen it, but there's big signs up that say you're not even allowed to walk your dog on this area. It's owned by the rail. It's not CN. It's like a Kansas City Rail or something like that. But I wasn't sure if that was just a name that you've been approached by before, but...
Nope.
If not, I will keep I'll get a phone number, I'll do some research into it, and I'll try and put my efforts into... try and do something for the south side anyway.
And I think it's worth stating for anyone who hears this in Edmonton and wants to help with this, is like, feel empowered to email myself or the club and let us know of opportunities. Like, let us know if you see something that makes sense. Like, just from like a literal physical standpoint, we can't be everywhere. Like, our club members can be a massive asset, and they can help us identify places. We're now that Hermitage 98% behind us. This is our priority. This is my priority, and this is something I do believe in. Like, I feel like when I tell people, like, We know about the South. Like, I'm not sure how much they hear that, but I mean it. Like, we truly do know that the South needs this course more than anything in the city, and it is important to us. And I think if our club members can help us identify land, we can certainly get started on that. I mean, quite literally at any point.
So Southside listeners, get out there, start looking, start hunting, and then email the club and let them know what you found.
If you're a disc golfer and you're driving around the city, or you're driving anywhere outside of the city, surely that I think we've had this conversation before. Like, who is not looking out the windows thinking,
That's
you could build a nice disc golf course there? You could, exactly, right?
I think the big thing that I would say is, like, it's got to be a big space. Don't underestimate the size. The space has to be quite big. Excuse me. Where, I personally think anything wooded would be really, really beneficial. Like, we've got a couple really good park golf courses, and I think we could definitely benefit from something a little more wooded inside the city, something technical. And if it's River Valley, please try to stay away from it, because that is just it's the biggest pain to try and work through.
Yeah.
Well, good tips.
Yeah, but I mean, in reality, we're going to be open to any space. We're going to be open to anything as long as it makes sense. Like, and the city's willing to work with that piece of land. That's the number one thing. So
awesome.
And you kind of touched on it there, but I guess if you were to pick a top 3 priority of EDGA for the next year, finish off Hermitage. Is it Southside after that, or is it anything to do with Nor'Wester? I know in the AGM you mentioned something about trying to work on getting Nor'Wester up to scratch. There are a few pain points out there that you wanted to look at as well.
Well, and before we give you that moment there, I'm just going to say real quick, Tim, sorry to interrupt, just so you know, because you're going to be happy to hear this if you've been listening to some of the other episodes. We're taking Daryl out to Nor'Wester tomorrow. We're going to teach him that there is some good value there. So stay tuned for his review.
It's a fun course. Nor'Wester's got some really great shots to it. I think it can get tricky when it's full, but it's got some great shots.
I can't really use my line on the president of EDGA, can I, Jeremy? I can't say it.
Well, it wouldn't be an episode if you didn't use it.
I value your opinion, Tim, but you're wrong. But who knows? Maybe tomorrow we'll go out there, we'll have a good round, and I'll like it again. Know this
about Daryl. If he is wrong, he's the first to admit it, so we're hoping after tomorrow we've convinced him.
There you go. Stay tuned for next episode, and I'll give you an update.
Yeah, I'll be listening. Don't you worry.
Yeah. But for the top 3 going forward for this year, what would you say the top 3 priorities are?
I think that's, again, I can't give a short answer because that's not who I am as a person. Yes, finishing Hermitage is absolutely the number 1 priority. Luckily, everything's basically in the works. We're just getting final approval on the signage from the city, because surprisingly, even the signs, we have to follow the fonts, we have to follow the color, we have to get it all approved by them first before. Yeah. And like, we can't put like advertisements on them. There's a lot of ins and outs to even just the signage, but we're reasonably down that path. That'll happen pretty quick. There's some remediation that'll happen in the spring. It's, we're on the very, very last parts of it. So that's great. That's number 1. Make that a fully served course. I would say number 2 priority is going to be split between starting the process of finding a Southside course and focusing on making River City Cup a better tournament. Right. River City Cup went really well last year, but we circulated a survey, and I think there's a lot to learn from doing it from a club perspective. A lot of people have done it, like Wally's done it so well for so long, and last year's kind of the first crack at the club doing it, and I think we did a really good job. The rain all weekend didn't really help.
Right.
But I personally see that as a big opportunity for myself and for the club, just to kind of continue to put our kind of name out there and stamp down as like producing high quality programming. And I would say the second part of the second priority would be the Nor'Wester tee pads. I don't know if we have the capital to kind of go after everything all at once. Like, I think at this point, with how much we spent on Hermitage and just where we are financially, like I think we're in a good spot, but I think we also have to be careful not to just go, yep, let's line up that project and do it. Let's line up this project and do it. Like we kind of have to. We're at a spot now with Hermitage being where it is that we have to take a breath and determine what the next best move is. So that I would say is tied for the number 2 priority, and then I have a tied for third place. A tied for third place priority. I do think that growing the junior and women's side of the game is like our third priority. It should probably be higher on that list if I'm being honest. Like as I'm reviewing my own list, I'm like, but I do think there's more work to be done there. Like I think we've done a really good job, but I'd like to do a much better job, especially on the junior side of things. So that would be in a nutshell my 5 3-point list.
I just wanted to touch on something you mentioned there because it just came to me about Hermitage, and you said that it's pretty much all taken care of. Obviously you must be aware because you've probably seen it every time you go out there. What sort of what does it take when you look at hole 3 where the short pin location, it's kind of been a bit damaged there? Like how much, what does it take to get that back to, obviously like you said, you have to jump through so many hoops. I'm sure you can't just go out there, dig a hole, pull that pole out and put a new pole in and everything is good.
Yeah. Well, when that happened to hole 17 short at Rundle, it took about a month and a half of emails to make it work.
Well, month and a half, that doesn't sound too bad considering how long you said that it takes to do everything else. So, but still, yeah, a month and a half just to get a hole.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this in real time. I'm gonna look up mower AHA. So I sent the email, damage to Hermitage collars, on October 23rd,
and we're still working on it.
Yeah, that email was never acknowledged.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's an unfortunate kind of thing circumstance that happens. The mowers, for whatever reason, don't catch the pole that's indicating where the collar is, and then they hit the pole. And they have the tools and know-how to form them back into place. It's more about someone owning up to it and being like, yeah, we'll go fix that.
Right.
Gotcha. So Tim, as well, you were mentioning River City Cup there, and we're going to lead into a couple other topics that we want to move on to, include Winter League and that. But with River City Cup, it is one of the premier tournaments in the Edmonton area right now, and at this point, it is a B tier, if I'm correct, with PDGA. Is there any hopes or plans of ever trying to get an A tier in the Edmonton area, and would River City Cup possibly be an opportunity for that?
Absolutely. It actually was a tier, I believe, in 21. I think it was 21. It was an A tier before I was a part of it. I think I did some volunteer work for it, but it was still a Wally special, and he brought it to an A tier level. Absolutely. The reason why I very intentionally scaled it back to a B tier, just because of my own abilities as a TD. I'd only ran a handful of C tiers, and I just full disclosure, I didn't have the confidence or the know-how of how to run tournaments that big. So I intentionally scaled it back to a B tier, and I tried to make it very, very, not limited, but very like concise. Here's what we're doing. Here's the plan. Here's how it goes. Like I tried very intentionally to make it what it was last year, and then with the hopes of growing it incrementally. So this year it will be a B tier. I don't think it'll look too terribly different from last year, but hopefully just improved and enhanced. But I absolutely, you see me, these Caesars, they're coming back at me.
All that Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah. So can we pause that? How are we saying this?
Okay. How would you say it, Tim?
Worcestershire.
How would you say it, Jeremy?
I say like Worcestershire's cat or something.
So the actual pronunciation is Worcestershire.
Worcestershire?
So Worcester, WOOSTER. Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce.
You put too many syllables in there. It's not Worcestershire, it's just Worcestershire.
Worcestershire, sure. We'll get it eventually.
Worcester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now a lot more people know how to say it, I hope.
There you go.
Yeah, so the intent is definitely one day to bring that back to an A tier level tournament. I think it's deserving of it for sure. And I think Edmonton does deserve to have one, if not two, good A tier level tournaments. This year, it's going to be very much the same as last year with just some enhancements. Again, just because I'm just, with all the things going on club wise, and with my own kind of abilities and skills, I just feel like I need to keep my own expectations in check and keep my own sanity in check. Like, I still have a full-time job. I have a full-time dog. I have a house. I have my amazing partner, Kristen. We're fostering a cat. I still play men's league hockey. Like, I just selfishly, like, I have to be very aware of my own capacity.
Absolutely.
And so I've intentionally kept it as a B tier for the 2 years to learn how to run bigger tournaments. But I definitely anticipate and would hope that River City could be an A tier sooner than later.
Well, with that, Tim, I think that leads into, hopefully you'll be willing to come on another time, but I think, Daryl, we could do an episode of what it's like to be a TD and what's involved in that, because we show up for these tournaments and we play, we pay our money, and we have a good time. But there's so much that goes behind that. And as you're saying, to go from a C to a B to an A, we're just thinking, oh, just slap A on it. Why don't you do that? And there's probably so much stuff we could talk about to really give people an understanding of what goes into putting those tournaments together.
Yeah, I'd be happy. You guys can call me up anytime, and I'd be happy to come on, whether it's Tournament Talk or EDGA or just, want to chat about disc golf in general. Anytime you guys want me, you just send me the note.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Yeah, we have that. Yeah. We've had that recorded now, Jeremy.
Yes, we do. That will be our little snip when we're promoting for the next time we want him on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just say too, from a TD perspective, the fact that Wally at some point in the next year in a year or so, or whatever it is going to be, is going to complete his 100th tournament is absolutely mind-boggling.
Wow.
That is, I mean, I've done, I think 5 or 6 at this point, and I just, like, the exhaustion and the work and the anxiety you have about it going off right, and how people think about it, and will it be, there's just so many little things you think about every single day, and you have to consider everything. And the fact that he's like, I'm about to do my 100th, like, how lucky are we as a community to have people like that who have just given themselves to this sport?
Most definitely. Well, Tim, can we roll over to, we like to, what we've been doing is we've been giving a little bit of a winter league update each week. So we're going to do a league update for week 3. And unfortunately, I don't get to put my special cap on and take the honors this week, but
yeah, I mean, I made the post a few hour or two ago about put the hot round up there, and I didn't see your name, which was a little bit unfortunate. Yeah,
flash in the pan.
So Rundle and I, Tim, we're still working on me finding a subpar round at Rundle. We'll find it eventually, but we're working on it.
Let me tell you, the Nate Sexton Firebird will change your game. Put one in your bag.
Yeah.
I say, well, the next time you're just retiring one just because, let me know. Maybe we can make a trade or something.
That sounds good to me. I'm actually really heartbroken that I wasn't able to join Winter League this year. I had such an amazing time with it last year. I was really happy to be able to bring it back, but I had a work change at the end of October where it necessitated that I work Saturdays as opposed to my usual Sundays where I would get Saturdays off. So I couldn't make it work from a scheduling perspective. But I saw Jana Olsen, who joined the league this year, and I talked to her a little bit today, and she just said that she was so sweet. She was just like, I'm having the best time. I'm learning so much, and everyone has been so incredibly welcoming and nice. And I mean, that's awesome. We're out there playing winter disc golf, and we're still building community. Like, it's perfect.
Well, I've had a chance to play with her a couple times, and she is a listener of the show, and like, we were really happy. She's like, "Are you the Jeremy from the podcast?" So that was our minor celebrity status Daryl and I have gotten so far.
Just show me where you wanted me to sign on your disc.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, she's so great, and she went and watched. I can't remember which tournament it was last year that she went and watched a tournament in the States. And just came back with these amazing stories of rubbing elbows with the pros, and she's I just see her more than most people at the course, and she's just so involved, and I look at the list of people in that Winter League, like Dylan Froelich, like he ran our Hills League for a year, and Mark Thompson, obviously we spoke about him, and Jana, and just like there's so many people on that list of just the Winter Leaguers that are just like, it's amazing. It's so cool to see everyone out there, and I'm at work wallowing and being sad and just seeing all the scores come in live and just being like, oh.
Well, and with the weather this year, it has been fantastic. It's been great to play. And I think what we'll do is we'll shout out Dylan because he did have the hot round at Rundle again with a -6. And I think that's the score to beat for the top players there is that -6. We haven't seen it beaten the last 2 times at Rundle.
That's a good score. The baskets are an easy spot, but like those little icy patches, if you're not dropping the disc on a good spot or having a good day on the putting green, like it could be really, really tricky.
Yeah, we've seen a couple discs slide. Not so much now because now that it's melted a little bit, it's getting better. But that first week, there were a couple toboggan runs down the hill with the with the putters.
Yeah, it can get skippy out there, so you gotta play smart.
So, and then I guess the next thing we've got coming up too, as we keep rolling through kind of events, is we're going to have Tundra Toss and Welcome Day, and that was also just announced recently, but we wanted to give you some time maybe to reiterate that information and make sure that everybody listening knows what their first event to look forward to for tournament season is.
Yeah, thanks. So Travis Bouchard and I kind of created this event. I mean, there's been ice bowls in the past, which have been it's kind of a bigger brand thing with the ice bowls, but we felt we wanted something that was a little bit more localized and that we could kind of start as an annual thing. So we created the Tundra Toss. We kind of actually created that separate of EDGA for the first year, and then for the second one, we brought it into the EDGA umbrella and kind of matched it up with our welcome days so that people could come like pick up their bag tags, pick up a coupon, and kind of just like really feel the community in like February. Mm-hmm. So February 25th, 2024, we have the Tundra Toss 3. I'll have 19 holes. It'll be the same layout as it was. Not quite the same because Rundle's different, but it'll be a very similar layout to last year. The registration for that is going to go live at 8 p.m. on January 25th, 2024, so a month before the tournament. And we are pairing it again with the Welcome Day. So the Welcome Day is, I've already talked to some community people. We're gonna have some people that I can't make any official announcements unfortunately right now.
That's okay.
Because there's about 6 different balls in the air that we're juggling, but there's going to be a lot of activations from prominent disc golf people in the area, and we're going to work to make sure that we give everyone like a real community day. I'm almost like I've kind of began to envision almost like a trade show style day where people can play the tournament, and then people can also show up and engage with either retailers or owners of courses nearby or people who have just trade show style kind of fashion. So I want to make the community day. Yes, come get your EDGA stuff. Yes, there's a tournament going on, but also like let's just like in the middle of winter here, like remember that we're a community that's still growing.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I know I participated in last year's tournament. That was actually my first tournament I'd ever been in, and it was fantastic. Everything from the course layout to getting my bag tag, meeting people from the club, doing a disc swap we did last year, which was fantastic. Right. I still got a couple discs that I used from that, and even Disc Dog was out there last year, and we had some. Yeah. What was it? It was the ramen noodle hot dogs that we had. It was just a great day all around.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like we could definitely do that in the summer, but there's something very unique and Edmontonian about doing that at the end of February, like making that kind of our focal community point, like is kind of funny to me, and it's kind of like it's just very Edmontonian. So I feel like it's very appropriate, and I'm just leaning into it more than anything.
Agreed.
That's kind of funny because that was my first ever disc golf related thing. I didn't even have any discs. I ordered a Gyropalooza box and I didn't get them until the March. But I went to, I just knew when I found out about EDGA and I knew that I had to sign up. I went there, picked up my bag tags and that, and you mentioned about Briggsy. He was on the course and shouted to me, when are you coming to play and all that. And my girlfriend was with me at the time as well. And yeah, didn't even have any discs, and I went there and I didn't know what was happening. I saw all these guys playing a round of golf, didn't realize that it was a tournament that was arranged and things like that. So yeah, definitely we'll definitely be there next year.
That's awesome. I just like that. I love when you walk into a tournament or like an event like that and you just feel the sense of community. Like it's just so apparent why everyone's there, and that them kids, they call it the vibes, but the vibes are good. It's just one of those things where you just sense it in the air. I think one of my favorite things every single year that I've been so lucky to experience the last 3 or 4 years is driving into Aston Meadows for Falcon's Flight. And there's just something so incredibly special about, like, you have to close the gate behind you because you can't let the horses out, so you have to do that. And then you have this slow, bumpy drive up, and you see like the tenters and the campers, and you see like the two courses, and it's after a long drive, kind of experiencing all that, I get goosebumps every time, because it's just like I feel the sense of community, and that's ultimately what I'm looking to. I'm hoping to provide to our community members here, especially with the Tundra Toss, is like, let's just make it cold but fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well, there was another piece of news that was announced recently, and I was waiting and chomping at the bit for it, because last year Canadian Nationals was out in Thunder Bay, and the question was, where was it going to be this year? Because it seems to go either far-flung east or far-flung west. It ends up in PEI, it ends up where it is, but we're lucky enough that it's going to be out at Clearwater. And to me, 7.5 hour drive, I like that a lot better than maybe a 7.5 hour flight or whatever it would take to go out east. So with that, I wanted to ask you, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to hopefully get in and head out there. Have you participated in nationals before, is one part of the question. And then the other part of the question is, have you played those courses out in Clearwater?
No and no. I've never done the nationals. I would really like to. I feel like even though I've played 200 rounds this year, I really had to scale back the amount of rounds I got to play and the amount of like trips I got to go do for disc golf. I would love to go, and I haven't to this point. Being that it's in BC this year, it's very tempting, and I know someone in my household who is very excited to be going as soon as they can sign up. I haven't played those courses either. So I don't know much about them. I as soon as it was announced, I obviously went to UDisc and was like flipping through and looking through them and like doing my investigation of it. They look tremendous. It looks like it's gonna be a world-class event.
Well, and as that certain someone told us last week, we just need to put the alert reminder on Disc Golf Scene. It'll remind me. I think Daryl looked in our chain out calendar that we have together, and he's like, "Oh, Jeremy's already got registration date in the calendar."
That's just smart.
There you go. Yeah, we're always thinking.
Cool.
No, I figure if half the household is going, maybe the whole household should be going. But
it's only fair.
Right? That's how I look at it. But it looks really exciting. Yeah.
Well, another thing, Tim, at this time, we normally do our course review. But right now, rather than pull you into a course review and do that kind of thing, we thought we'd do something different for this week and do a course preview. Right, Daryl?
Yeah. We wanted to kind of throw things over to you a bit, and whether you've got any information on it or what you envision it looking like. But we wanted to talk about the new Sunridge Science Park course.
And what can we expect? What's it going to look like? Do you know what any of the holes are going to be like? Is all of those types of things. Give us as much as we can to get ourselves so excited for that course.
I'll preface this by saying I know shockingly little about it. I know
there is going to be one.
Yeah, there's going to be one.
It's going to be a short preview here, is it?
I'll tell you what I do know. I've largely let Joey Wilson, our treasurer, kind of own that project. Just kind of like he really felt passionate about that project, and I'm not the kind of person to kind of interfere with someone's passion project. So it was kind of like, Joey, if you're on that, you do that, and he's been absolutely crushing it. So we've purchased 9 baskets, and the other 9 were purchased by Sunridge. And what's important to note about this property is that it's half provincial land and half private property. Yes. Okay. So Science Park is actually considered provincial land, not city. But the province actually is, they're like, they want this to go in, and obviously for the summer months, Sunridge, it's a great opportunity for them as well. Have either of you played the old Science Park course?
No, I can tell you my little experience with Science Park was back in my mountain biking days. There's some trails in the area.
Right.
And I remember
Right.
when you get to the old Science Park building, I feel like Scooby-Doo and the gang are going to come out and investigate a mystery or something out there. So I know that the land is not used, I guess is what I mean to say about that. So putting a disc golf course in there, what we know, just looking at Rundle in the summer, you will build it and we will come.
Yeah, exactly. No, I had the pleasure of playing that course a handful of times with Joey. Not enough to know it very well, but enough to know that it's a lot of rough land with some groomed moments and a lot of elevation. There's a lot of really difficult shots. Like there are some, I know there's one hole, and I do believe it's going to be on the layout, but I don't hold me to it. It's just like, it's almost like a 600-700 foot hole, but it just bends the whole time.
Oh.
And it's like, it's quite treed on the inside. So it's a very, very technical one. I actually have not seen any layout proposal or anything on the Sunridge side, but I do know that it's going to be quite, the elevation will be the name of the game on that. It'll be all about elevation.
So it'll be something that we don't really see, at least not any of the public courses that we currently have, maybe on the private ones, but we really don't get a lot of elevation. We might get a berm at Nor'Wester where the
Right.
basket is placed, but aside from the one downhill shot at Rundle, that's probably the biggest hill I think we experience.
Yeah, and this will definitely be a prominent theme. I know on the Science Park side, there's a reasonable amount of elevation, and it's like, I remember it being very a difficult but fair track. I remember thinking like, this is hard, but it's also very fair. Couple of very downhill shots and like a lot of big shots. And then I haven't seen the Sunridge, but I know I've been to Sunridge. I skied there. I know the land, and I've been told it's lots of elevation. And yeah, we're ready to kind of go to install the baskets pretty much as soon as the ground is broken up. I probably should look a little more deeply into it. Like I said, I've just kind of been a little bit hands off on it because I didn't want to micromanage someone else's passion project. I just felt
Right.
I had my lane I wanted to stay in, and I wanted to respect Joey's work on that project.
Well,
I'm hearing.
Go ahead, Derek.
What I'm hearing, Jeremy, is that there's an opportunity to get Joey on the podcast and talk to him more about it. It sounds like a potential guest to me.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been, I believe he'd be the longest serving board member presently because he was on the board when I joined. He's been playing disc golf longer than I have. If you reach out to him, I would hope he'd be into it because he would have a lot to say, and he'd be a great interview.
Well, I already have had a couple interactions with Joey that have been amazing, and the fact that I was looking to find out if doubles was going on, and he messaged me back right away, and he's like, Jeremy, nope, doubles isn't going on, but not too sure who you are, but if you want to come and meet us at NISCA, I've got a card, and you're happy to join. So I showed up, played around with him, and yeah, just the nicest guy and definitely approachable, just like everyone else you seem to meet in our community.
And you have to come to if you have a bill or something that needs to be paid out, boy, you better come with your receipts, because that man, he's not paying out anything until you come with your receipts. So like a good treasurer.
Good job, Joey. And with that too, I was going to say that Sunridge Science Park, to me, once that's built, and maybe I'm just looking way too far in the future, but we will pretty much have a triangle of 3 courses within 5 to 10 minute drive at the very most of each other. That could also be a great thing when it does come to taking River City Cup and notching it up again.
Yeah, and arguably you can kind of lump Niska Pasquak into that a little bit as well, but I think you're right. Like the Science and Sunridge Park would make, especially if they get really, really notable good tee pads in there, would make for quite the triad of courses in that corner. And I think that's exactly what we would look to do, is position it to be an integral part of like an A-tier tournament where you can cycle across the three or whatever. I also think that, like, I think people will probably have a hard time hearing that we're going to build another course in the Northeast. But again, it's more that the opportunity presented itself a long time ago, and we're just choosing to jump on that opportunity. Like, we haven't had to do a ton of work to make it happen. Joey's done some site visits. Sunridge really wants us to be in there. The province really wants us to be in there. And there's very little barriers being put up to making it happen. So it's like, well, if the baskets are already purchased, it's just a no-brainer for us. And I think it is a part of a long-term play to possibly host something like nationals, to possibly put on like an A-tier event out of River City. Like, we can use those courses to do these things and to make our local scene that much stronger.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that because Sunridge and the Science Park is on the south of the river, that doesn't count as a south side course. That's still technically, I guess, it's south of the river, but no, we're not counting that one.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Now that you've put that in my head, I
technically we do have a south side. No.
Oh, that's hilarious, Daryl. Well, and with that too, I'm thinking, as you said, okay, 3 courses in the Northeast, people could have some thoughts about that. But at the same time, when you're going out to play disc golf, you're usually driving to a course. And I know, using Mark as the example and using your example today, is sometimes people want to go out and play 2, 3, as many rounds as they can, especially in the summer with the daylight. So what better way to do that than have to play on one course the whole time, or be able to go between 3 courses? You got a Tim Hortons right handy, you got Dairy Queen, you got food in between. Like, it's going to be a great setup. So when you do travel, you've got a whole day and you can do multiple different courses and multiple different challenges.
Yeah, and I'm definitely cautious to like jump on the full agreement, because I'm still like, I want to be going after the south side course, but there is a benefit to having 3 or 4 courses in that little area, because it's like, well, if I'm going to spend a day disc golfing, I'm just going to go there, and if one's too busy, I'll go to the other. Or if I want to play 2 different courses or 3 different courses, it's not a ton of commute to one to the other. So there is some benefits to kind of grouping them, albeit completely unintentional.
Yes. Yeah, we don't want to say that it was pre-planned. That's right. It wasn't pre-planned.
Exactly. You mentioned Niska there. Is there, obviously last year we had I wasn't a part of it, but we had the huge fundraiser charity event there. Is that still going to go ahead, or is there any plans for having that this year as well?
Yeah, Brock Cicchetti, who is our vice president this year, he, I believe, will be working on that project again this year. All the proceeds go to the Mental Health Foundation, and it's, aside from just the money going to a great cause, it also kind of reaffirms the usage of the course quite a bit. And I know the hospital, they're actively working towards a T-pad solution, whether it's concrete or not, I don't know, but they're very, very interested in making T-pads happen there in some way. It's kind of a little bit out of our hands. We're going to advise, and we're going to obviously try to garner a couple more donations to help, but really hoping we get T-pads there too, because I absolutely love Niska as a course. I love that it's like kind of a little bit of a not a secret spot for our club members, but like it's a club member spot. Like that is a neat little benefit. Like, it is cool. Yeah. And it's just like such a gorgeous property. It's a fun track.
Yeah, we spoke to Kristen about it last week, and she kind of informed us and gave us the lowdown that it's not a EDGA course. It's everything is owned by the Alberta Hospital. EDGA donated the baskets, and that's kind of like a symbiotic relationship that, together they want to encourage people to play it, and that's why the EDGA, we have to sign the waivers so that it's like we said, a semi-private members course.
Yeah, and you got it exactly right. The baskets were donated, and then we advised on the layout, and we get permission to use it. I think they've been, Lindsay Pearson and the team there have been just unbelievable for us. Like, they're just incredible humans. They do great work at the hospital, and they I'm very fortunate that I get to hear kind of about the stories coming from the hospital, which is that not only are the guests playing disc golf, but the staff are playing disc golf, and there's interest in a Friday night league, and we've been able to go out there and to do some learn to throw sessions, and we've been able to use the course for a welcome day 2.0, where people were welcome to come play doubles and pick up their bag tags, do the centennial fundraiser, and we are so fortunate to kind of have this opportunity to just kind of, I wouldn't say fall into our laps, because there are some board members of previous years that really made this work, but just the relationship that we have with the hospital is incredible, and that property is amazing, and it's just like this little sanctuary that we get access to. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great course.
And I think too, thinking about it more, I called it my favorite course at this point in the courses that we reviewed. And I'm an Ontario boy. That's where I was born and I grew up. And I just thinking about it now, they're not maple trees, obviously, that are out there, because we don't really have a lot of them here. But the fact that you get those big old growth trees and they become part of the whole and your shot shaping and everything else, that's probably one of those big things that attracts me. It probably reminds me of home of sorts, because you can travel the rest of Edmonton and you're just going to see little aspens and poplars around. But when you're there, you get just a great looking course.
It's a mature property, and it just has all of the best features for a disc golf course. It's just a little slice of heaven.
Yeah. Well, I think we're kind of getting to the point where you've been so gracious with your time, but we cannot let you leave without asking a couple more questions, right, Daryl?
Yeah, exactly. So
leaving the hardest hitters, right?
Yes.
we're gonna ease you out. This is a kind of a staple in the end of the podcast now. I've renamed it now. There's a long-running radio show in England. There's been a few different hosts, but basically they get celebrities on. It's on the radio, and they get to select 3 records that they would like to take with them to play on the island, and it's affectionately named Desert Island Discs. My flip on this was, in the beginning, it was the story that you were on a ship and you were shipwrecked, and fortuitously you ended up on an 18-hole on an island with an 18-hole disc golf course. The big question, and this leads to the title of the show: which 3 discs are you taking with you?
Okay.
I mean, we can already guess one.
Or 3, maybe.
Maybe you might take all 3. Yeah.
No, I'm going to go with 2 Nate Sexton Firebirds and a Nate Sexton Firefly.
Seriously?
Yep, absolutely. I'm not even joking. I would literally take 2 Firebirds in case I lost one, and then I do use the Firefly as a putter.
Oh, you have to educate me. I've never heard of the Firefly.
It's basically a P2 from Discmania. Basically, when Discmania left, like Innova was making Discmania's discs. Right. Discmania left to make their own discs, so they were left with the P2 mold, and they gave it to Nate Sexton, and he called it a Firefly. And I'm actually a very not great putter. I'm like an okay putter at best. But I had a lot of success with the P2. Yeah. Is it but which brings in the question: is it a putt if it's from the tee pad?
Oh. It's a good. Well, Kingswood, we'd be putting a lot, I think, wouldn't we?
But he basically was given the P2, and I had a P2 that I was having a lot of success with in the winter. And when the Firefly came out, it was like, that's gonna be my putter. And I have, I think, about 15 of them now, because when I kind of go into one disc, I just obsess about it. So right. 2 Firebirds and a Firefly.
Any particular year?
Oh.
There you go.
The 2020 Firebird was my favorite Firebird. The 2020.
So you're taking 2 2020s or a 2020 and a different run?
I also like the 2018 quite a bit. Okay. Yeah, but I would go 2 2020s.
And a Firefly. There you go.
Yeah, and a Firefly. Yeah.
Now, Tim, if we were to go through your bag, just out of curiosity, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but like for me, my bag is probably, 25 discs, and they're 25 different discs. Is yours different in the way? Is it a lot of Firebirds? Do you kind of focus just on some main discs, or how do you put your bag together?
I used to actually bag 5 Firebirds. I'm not even kidding. I used to bag different years because they had different stabilities. I only bag 2 Firebirds now. But I do actually like to bag multiples of discs. So I do have 2 Paul Macbeth destroyers. I have 2 drifts. I have 2 Sexton Firebirds. I have 2 Fireflies. I'm sure I'm missing something. I do actually like to kind of double up on a lot of molds.
Right.
And then it's a pretty mixed bag, but there's definitely my purple Paul Macbeth destroyer. Obviously, that's when Paul Macbeth was with Innova. I got that disc in 2017, and it's been one of my number 1 drivers since 2017. So I lean on that one pretty hard. Lean on my Firebirds pretty hard. The rest is all just whatever. It's not a Firebird.
I'm not sure if it was staged or not, but I remember watching a video that you did, an interview for, it was like a school project for somebody from Nate, I believe. And it was a video of you going around Rundle, and at the end of it, they were talking to you, and then they said, okay, what disc do you recommend? And you pulled out like 7 Nate Sexton Firebirds. So I don't know if it was quite staged or whether you used to bag that many, but yeah. That was,
that's legitimate. I used to bag a lot of Firebirds, and I trimmed back just not because I felt I needed to have less Firebirds, but just I couldn't face the criticism anymore.
Well, awesome. I think, Daryl, there's that movie that came out, Bend It Like Beckham. So if we want to face it like Tim, I think we're going to have to do some shopping for a Firebird.
Throw it like Tim? Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, I think about Rundle, like if I go by the original whole names, I'm throwing it sometimes on 2, sometimes on 3, on 4, on 6, on 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, not 16. Yeah, so I mean about 9 drives at Rundle.
You're throwing at this.
So I have a question for you before you go.
Yep.
I'm not too hot on the different molds and things like that. I did a disc swap, and I have a Haley King Firebird. Now, is there something different between the molds of a Nate Sexton Firebird and a regular Firebird? And I know this isn't a regular Haley. Is it just a stamp?
I've got to be really careful with what I say, because the person that knows everything about discs in this household is about 30 feet away from me. She's at Circle's Edge right now.
And she's a great putter, so you got to watch it.
She's a great putter. She's a great player. My understanding is that between the Haley King Firebird and the Sexton Firebird is that the Sextons are a little straighter. The Sextons are a little bit less stable than anything Halo and the Haley Kings.
Okay, so, that's my win disc anyway. So yeah, that would make sense.
I don't hear any corrections coming.
And I haven't seen a disc come in stage right. And
awesome. Maybe texting me or something right now.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, we appreciate all the time you've given us. This has been awesome. But we do always at the end of here too, is there's anything that we haven't covered, or if there's anything that you wanted to promote or talk about that we didn't touch on, this is your opportunity to do that.
Sure. I'm going to go all corporate for a quick second just to leave you guys. I just want to, on behalf of EDGA, thank a few people. I have to thank our sponsors from last year. So Pursuit of Motion Physiotherapy with Tristan Pisco is unbelievable. Mark and the team at Fountain Tire Yellowhead, I mean, their contribution to our club has been immeasurable. Unbelievable work with them. Gander Disc Golf, they have been a tremendous sponsor of ours, of the club and the work they do. We had Pass the Pantry for the Thursday Rundle League that give us the gift cards for the longest putt. We had BR Disc Golf for River City Cup. Boy, I'm paranoid that I'm going to forget some, but our sponsorships are something that's sort of new for our club over the last couple of years, and we're kind of learning how to handle them. But we're learning how valuable they are, and they've been just unbelievable. Boston Pizza again in Sherwood Park has been tremendous as well. But we're just learning how important they are to enhancing the player experience and the member experience within our club. So, shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to the community members for making me feel like we're doing something here. Again, I just can't stress enough how we're propped up by such amazing people like yourself, like the Briggsies, like the Mark Thompsons, and just a community full of people who just give themselves to the sport. And just on behalf of EDGA, just thank you to everyone for continuing to put your trust and your faith into the club.
Fantastic.
I just checked on the website. You hit everybody, Tim. You didn't miss anybody.
Well,
We nailed it.
And Tim, I know you've been very selfless in that and in everything we've said, but we want to make sure to say thank you because of all of the work that you've done, and you've helped lead. You have that team behind you, and I know they're doing a lot, but you need somebody at the front to guide the ship and to point it in the right direction. So we really appreciate that as well.
Thank you for the kind words. I sincerely appreciate it. I have such trouble accepting it, but thank you.
You did well. Good job.
and don't fret, we will be having you on again.
Love it. Sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks very much, Tim. I don't know if you want to jump off. We don't really have anything else to talk about. I think we do, Jeremy.
No, I think we're good. We appreciate it, and we will have you on again. We're going to take you up on that offer. So thank you so much, Tim.
Great. I'm going to jump off, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay.
No problem. Thanks, Tim.
Take care.
Another great interview.
Another amazing interview. I'm
These
like, how are
interviews
we
just
getting
keep getting
so
better and
blessed?
better. I know,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So Kristen last week, we had Mark as our first guest. We've got Tim, the president of the EDGA, on our podcast. Things are rolling. I know you've said this a couple times in our conversations, Daryl. It's like, are we peaking too early? But I think it just goes to show that everybody in the disc golf community so far in that we've interacted in these interviews, they've all been amazing. So whether we've got the president of EDGA on, FPO top player Kristen Swirls, local community member Mark Thompson, no matter who it is that we're going to bring onto the show, it's going to be a good interview. It's going to be something to listen to. We're going to learn something, and hopefully our listeners enjoy it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think hopefully it shows that that we're around the community and we're doing good things. The fact that we can get the backing, we can get the Edmonton Disc Golf Association president to come on the podcast, that obviously he sees some benefit in what we're doing. So hopefully, the listeners can see that, we're here to promote it. We're here to help everybody, learn more about the sport in Edmonton. And as this interview just goes to show that, we're not only, we're not trying to teach anyone about the sport, but anybody in the area can at least know what's happening, like giving them the awareness. So like, this is what's happening. This is where the future of disc golf is going in Edmonton, what to expect.
I agree wholeheartedly. And we mentioned it during the interview there about the growth of the league and going from 70 to 200, 250 to 400, and how that helps the club when they go to look to put in a new course, when they talk to the city, when they talk to private groups. And the same can be said about the podcast, right? We talked about the fact that we've got 20 subscribers right now, but the more subscribers and more people who want to continue to listen to us on a regular basis and support us, that's going to help us have these great interviews. And then I know you kind of cringe every time I say it, but when I have that goal of Thomas Gilbert or Chantel Badinsky, it's that kind of support from our listeners that's going to help us bring those interviews to them.
Yeah, and I thought about saying this at the beginning, or I keep thinking that I need to say this at the beginning, because it seems like we're just tacking it on the end, and maybe I'll try and remember next time. But it definitely does help us if you can, like the video. Even if you watch it halfway through, just leave a like on it whenever you're gonna end the video. Just leave a like before you're gonna hit that end button, that stop button. If you want to leave a comment, even if it doesn't really say anything, just leave a comment so we know people are watching it and engaging. It helps the YouTube videos. It helps us think that we're doing the right thing. Spotify or Apple, if you're listening to the podcast rather than watching it on YouTube, just have a look on the app. I think on Spotify, all you've got to do is just pull down on your screen, and it'll reveal the part at the top where you can rate the podcast. We have 3 5-star reviews at the moment on Spotify and 2 5-star reviews on Apple. So a short-term goal would be that if we've got 20 listeners or viewers on YouTube, 20 subscribers, if every one of those just went to Spotify and gave us a 5-star review, we'd be over 20 reviews, by next episode. If we could get to 10 5-star reviews by next episode, I think that would show that we're going in the right direction. And people are listening right to the very end, because that's what I think that a lot of people are maybe getting halfway through and they're not hearing our shout outs at the end. So hopefully they listened a little bit, further on in this interview.
Well, and that's a great point. And speaking of shout outs, we had kind of done this a couple episodes ago and talked about some of the listeners that are talking to us or reaching out to us saying that Jana met me there at the course and had mentioned about our show. Well, I had someone reach out just the other day, and I wanted to say thanks to Kevin, because Kevin is out there and he's listening to us. And what was really kind of cool to me was he said that he's been he has a job where he's out working and walking and kind of doing his rounds, and he says he listens to our podcast while he's working, and I thought that was so cool. It was so thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that, or we both appreciate that.
Thanks, Kevin.
Glad you're loving the content so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great opportunity to listen to a podcast, right? Whether you're lucky or unlucky enough to be working, but lucky enough to be walking around, or after work you're taking the dog for a walk, or you happen just to be driving to and from work. If you're listening to the podcast, don't forget, give us a like or a review at the end when you finish your journey.
Perfect. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode, Daryl. I don't know, what should we do now?
Before we do that, I'm just going to give it one more shout out and say, if you're not following us,
oh yes,
we always forget it. If you're watching on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. We post videos and pictures over there as well. So, chain out _podcast on Instagram, and chain out podcast anywhere else, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter, Spotify, Facebook. And Apple. Search for Facebook as well. Definitely search for us and leave a comment. Let us know where you're watching or listening to the podcast. And maybe if you leave your name, or if you have your name attached to it, we'll be giving you a shout out next episode.
That's right. Well, I think Daryl and I have a round planned for tomorrow.
Correct.
The one thing is if we had a Nate Sexton Firebird in our bag, I'm sure that we would not chain out.
That's not going away.
Nope, it's not. Sorry, guys. You can put as many comments as you want. This one's going to stick around.
Okay, thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.
And watching.